commas are tiny and insignificant little bits of punctuation, aren't they? Well, no. Commas are very important, and if you don't work out how to use them quickly, they can make your writing a little bit flat and a little bit run-on. Today we're going to learn how to use commas in 3 different ways. First, we're going to learn how to use commas in a list. Then we're going to learn how to use commas to add extra bits of information. 3, we're also going to use commas to join 2 sentences together. So the first way you use a comma is to separate items in a list. Let's think of this sentence here. I bought apples, bananas, grapes, and oranges. You can see there's a comma that goes after all of those bits of fruit. This is the most common way people use commas, and you've probably used it yourself, and you're probably pretty comfortable with using commas in this way. Now, the last comma in this sentence is a bit of a funny one that we'll talk about. It's actually called the Oxford comma. Some people really like the Oxford comma. Some people really do not like the Oxford comma. But generally, the thinking is that the Oxford comma does help in making things extra clear when they might not be. So the Oxford comma, it's also called the Harvard comma and the serial comma as well. And there's also a very famous song about the Oxford comma, which we'll link to below. But if you have a look at this sentence, which does not use the Oxford comma, you'll see what I mean about getting into a bit of trouble if you don't use it. So this sentence reads, I'd like to thank my parents, Oprah, and God. Now, without the Oxford comma, this sentence grammatically reads as the person's parents are Oprah and God. Now, that might be the case, but I don't know of any kids that have happened through Oprah and God yet. So if you added in the last comma after Oprah, it would read, I would like to thank my parents, Oprah, and God. There's 3 different people that are being thanked there, or 3 different entities, if you like, that are being thanked there. The parents, Oprah, and God. The parents, Oprah, and God. Now, the second way we can use commas, and this is a really cool way, is to add extra bits of information in the sentences that you're writing. They kind of break the sentence in 2 and say, here's a bit of extra information that's not essential, but it is a bit more descriptive and it makes the sentence maybe a little bit more interesting. You don't have to use it, but it's available to you if you want to use it. Now, if you want to use commas in this way to add extra bits of information to your sentences, you need 2 commas. One at the beginning of your extra bit of information and one at the end. So if you take this sentence here, my brother, who lives in Australia, is coming to visit soon. So you can see how the 2 commas that kind of bracket the extra bits of information about the brother describe him a little bit more. So now you know that the brother who's coming to visit is in Australia. It's just another way to add a bit of descriptive information into your writing. Now, you can do this multiple times in a sentence if you're really good at using commas. I wouldn't definitely recommend it because it does slow the pace of your writing and the reading of your writing. So just use it sparingly. Surely once a paragraph is okay, but don't use it over the top. Don't go crazy with it. Just use it to add some extra bits of information when it's adding to your writing, adding to the story, adding to what you're trying to say. Now, the third way that you can use commas, and the last way we'll touch on today, is when you use a comma to join 2 completely different sentences. So let's take these 2 sentences here. I wanted to go to the park. it was raining. Now by themselves, they kind of work. That they probably won't go to the park, or if they do, it's going to be wet. So what you can do is you can remove the full stop of the first sentence, replace that with a comma. You'll need to add another word to the last sentence to make sure it reads properly. So for this one, you can use a couple. I think the most common one in this particular circumstance is the word but. And then it reads like one proper sentence. I wanted to go to the park, but it was raining. Now that word but is part of what they call fanboys. Now we'll have another video on fanboys. You can click the link below to find that video if you like. That's a really good video to watch after this one because it does relate to commas a lot. So the 3 ways that we've spoken about how to use commas is: number 1, you use a comma to present or to categorize a list. Number 2, you use commas to add extra information to your sentences. And the last one we learned today was how to even join 2 sentences into one sentence. Now there are other ways you can use commas. You'll probably get used to those other ways just by doing a lot of reading. They're very self-explanatory. They relate to dates, they relate to presenting different people or talking to different people. But that's something you can pick up quite naturally if you do enough reading. The 3 that we've spoken about today is all you need to know when you're learning how to use the comma. So thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Jones, and I'll see you next time.